This is Mark Adams with another edition of the Extra Point Podcast, and we're joined today by Aucilla Christian head coach, Coach Colby Roberts. Coach, I don't know if you know this, but it's you. I think it's you, Coach Cleves at Wakulla, Coach Hickman at Florida High, and yourself. You guys are the longest tenured coaches in the Big Ten.
That's right. Yeah, somebody told me that a couple of weeks ago. It's hard to believe. It flies by, that's for sure.
It does. I remember when the beard was mostly black.
Hey, the reason I grow in the beard, man, I'm losing hair up here, so I got to put it somewhere I can grow it, you know?
Hey, they gray your hair, but it's all good. It's all good. Coach, you we talk about longevity and certain things like that, and we look at how long you've been at the helm. What you've had some pretty special seasons at Aucilla. Is there a formula you feel like that goes into the longevity of being successful year in and year out?
Yes, sir. I'd say probably about 5 or 6 years ago, we changed our program philosophy. You know, we talk about goals in the past. You know, hey, we want to have a winning record, we want to win the conference, we want to go to the playoffs, and we had success, but we never quite got over that hurdle of accomplishing all those goals. So I went back to our coaching staff and I said, you know what, let's stop talking about all these goals and all these achievements we want to do, and let's just put God first in all things. So we said our program philosophy is Colossians 3:23. It says, whatever you do, work out it with all your heart as if you're working for the Lord instead of man. And so we put all the kind of the worldly success behind us, focused on that goal, and really preached hard to the kids, and they bought in. And then when we did that, that's when we kind of took that next step as far as the success goes. So that's really what I contribute everything past several years to, is just putting God first, and he blesses us for that.
Yeah, amen. Hey, I know one of the things that we kind of look at as far as a mark of success is I look at the number of recruits that have gone and matriculated through your program and really have found success at the college level. You know, a lot of people they just don't think about it, but you guys have put several guys at Florida State. You've put several guys in at other big time Division I schools around the Southeast and across really across the country, really. Is there something to just the ability to say that you can start from anywhere and still make it at the highest level?
Absolutely. And that's one thing, you know, how kids are. They're always looking on the other side of the fence where the grass is sometimes greener, or so they think. But we tell our kids, hey, you could just be another horse in the stable if you go to another school, but you come here, you can be the big dog, you know, big fish in a little pond, more or less, and then shine and get your name out there and get recognized. So kids recognize that. And like I said previously, they're buying in and working hard. So that's definitely a key contributor to that.
Yeah, I definitely recognize you guys as doing more with less as in terms of like just the numbers. I know there have been what you guys would call a big class is oftentimes, 25, 26 guys. Talk to me just a little bit about just really just the off-season conditioning and getting those guys ready to go both ways. Cause I know it can't be easy when you've got, you've got your tight end is also going to be your defensive end in a couple of plays.
That's right. Yeah. So last year we had, I think it was 28 players, and this spring we had 31 full-time varsity, which is the most the school's ever had in program history. And so it's, y'all started 4Quartersonline about the same time I started coaching at Aucilla. So we kind of grown through this process together. And I know y'all came to some games. You could count how many people are on the team by just counting on the sideline, because we only had like 5 or 6 with 11 on the field. So, we had those days where we had 17, 18 players. Now we've essentially doubled that. So again, God's blessed us with numbers and success and now bodies, but it's still got a little bit of a learning curve, how to just kind of change and run your practice with more players. It's been a blessing, but it's been a learning curve at the same time. But as far as our summer conditioning goes, we still have the same philosophy that we took back when we had under 20 players. We want to be the most conditioned team, most disciplined team, and the most sound fundamental team on the field. So we run and push our guys hard. And we just really have that as the foundation of the program. Everybody knows it now. So it's either you're on board or you're not.
Yeah, I saw what was it, Junction Boys, late one night on ESPN, and I saw, just the whole Paul Bear Bryant story and just him kicking over the water. You guys don't get water. They handing out one towel. I know it's not that extreme because I don't think you can get away with that in this day and age. But what's something unique that you guys do to just get your guys in shape and ready to go for the long haul? Is there any particular drill or something you guys like to focus on?
I change it up, and Mondays we'll do sprints. Tuesday, we got a 5-man sled, and so we have a little drill we call Circle of Life, and I even make the skill players do it. So we just put 2 guys on the end of each on the sled, and they do a full 360 with it. And so I'll
Mm-hmm.
time that, and we get a little competition going too, because that any competition increases your output with the players, and so we do that, compete. So that really works the legs out, and then we'll do some sprints after that, and we do some distance stuff on Wednesday, and Thursday is just traditional walkthrough. But try to change it up each day. But again, that competition plays a key role in that.
Yeah, that's definitely. I remember one time my coach introduced tag during sprints at the end of practice. It wasn't they got a kick out of it, we didn't, but it was one
I
of
know
those
that.
things where it was just kind of, hey, I think we're gonna spice this up a little bit. But
That's right.
it's interesting to note that the kickers, even the kickers, got to get busy in the
That's right.
conditions. Um, one of my things that I definitely I try to take note of is just the you mentioned having the numbers and just guys going both ways, but you also got like most of your guys play multiple sports as well. I've talked to a lot of coaches. They're now starting to really be very vocal about not being specialized in one sport, but starting to kind of more traditional. Take your hand at a chance at every sport and see what you're good at. Maybe you might develop in a different way, or you might increase your hand-eye coordination in a different sport that might translate to football. Do you think? Do you believe that multi-sport athletes kind of make for better football players in some way, shape, or another?
Absolutely. And I think there's this stigma out there. And to be honest with you, Mark, I think it's the travel ball coaches that say that, you need to specialize.
Mhm.
So I've had some athletes go to the next level, and there's actually, baseball, basketball, football coaches encourage high school athletes to play as many sports as they can. That way they don't get burned out. And 2, you've heard the stories, I'm sure, with baseball. There's 7 or 8-year-olds on travel ball teams going, 6, 7 hours away driving a tournament, and then they blow their arms out in middle school because they play it year round. So I think it's
Yeah.
good from a mental standpoint and then physical standpoint too. And the more diverse you can be as far as sports go, I've heard college coaches say they prefer them to play multiple sports. So, but to your point, we do have to share a lot of athletes at Aucilla. But that's one thing about our coaches at our school where we're at now. Everybody understands that, so nobody pushes for the specialization. We cheer each other's sports on and try to be as supportive as we can. We share athletes, so that's a big part of it as well, though.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if it's just the amount of kids. Like, sometimes you can spread them out when you've got those kind of numbers, but I look at the more so the financial aspect of just how expensive travel ball can be. You're not, those fees only cover so much of what the kid does, and mom and dad got to come out of the pockets for hotels and gas and this, that, and the third. I had an interesting conversation with Coach Brown down in Bay County, and he just tries to make his school kind of a haven for kids to just be at the school and get your experience there, whether it's practicing with the
Right.
basketball team or participating in workouts, whatever it is. Do you feel like Auxilla Christian has that kind of environment where kids can just be at the school and kind of participate in summer workouts and things of that nature?
Absolutely. And 2, we're kind of unique in the sense that we don't do cuts within our sports. If you want to be on the team, you're on the team. Now, people have to earn playing time, of course, so you're not guaranteed playing time, but you get a spot on the team. With us sharing athletes, we do our workouts weeknights at 6 o'clock in the evenings, but then we have basketball coaches doing some stuff, baseball coaches doing some stuff, and it's a lot of the same kids playing multiple sports. So it's almost every single day at the school, we have some type of sports practice going on, and we just have changes in times and work with each other and just kind of share our schedules going into the summer with other coaches. That way, we're not scheduling things at the same days and same times. But absolutely, it's a safe haven, as you mentioned right there. And 2, we have some families that have big summer plans. Other ones, they don't really have anything to do. So having those doors open and just developing that sense of family and community definitely helps the kids and, gets extra work. So the coaches are pleased with it as well.
Yeah, I know those athletic director meetings got to be
Well,
really on
stop by
point with a
one.
calendar. So I know you guys do a lot with pre-planning and everything, just as you're moving around. Coach, let's go ahead and jump in some X's and O's.
Yeah.
Who do you have coming back from last season's team that you're excited about? Talk to me a little bit about the offseason spring and everything, how you guys put together your program, and tell me who you got plugging into certain spots on your offensive side and your defensive side.
Yeah. So we'll start with defense. And so we got our returning defensive player of the year coming back, Ethan Bass. He played linebacker for us, led the team in tackles. So he'll be a senior, and it's kind of a stalwart there on the defensive side of the ball. And then on offense, we had two co-offensive MVPs or players of the year, both coming back. And that's, I would call him an athlete. He does receiver, running back, a little bit of everything, plays safety for us. His name's Josh Agner. He'll be a senior. And then we got our quarterback coming back, who's a sophomore. Started several games last year as a freshman. His name's Landon LaRosa. And then our line, we're a little bit light there as far as experience goes, but kind of the guy we're going to lean heavy on this year, and that's named Shaw Lundy. So he'll be a junior for us. But those are going to be just a few of our key leaders that are coming back that we're going to lean heavy on going into next year.
Yeah, now, Coach, when you talk about, just some of the changes just in the classifications yet again, there's been some talk about you guys potentially going back to the SSA. Is that still a thing, or are you guys going to hang out in the 1A rule for a little bit?
Right now, it's 1A rule. We looked at the Sunshine Conference, and like you said, it's changing yet again, and that's the frustrating part is just when you get used to the system they have in place, they change it again. So I know with their mindset, the Activity Association, they're trying to change it for the better. My thing is, if you end up trying to please everybody, you please nobody. And I kind of think that's where they're falling into, is because 2 years from now, Mark, it's going to be completely different what it is now. I mean, we've just seen that cycle. And it's frustrating when you go 30 minutes down the road into Georgia. They've had established leagues and classifications for 30, 40 plus years, but yet in Florida, we change it every other year. So anyway, we're looking at all our options, but that's, we're planning on moving forward with Activity Association.
Right, because even now the 1A will be split. There's talks of that being split into two different divisions. Really for the most part, it's kind of, where you line up your opponents and, we're just going to play every game to win. But, there's some hidden aspects there where a lot of people just may not understand, especially when it comes to travel, understanding the games that you have to play. What do you feel like is, or I guess to rephrase the question, if you were magically in charge of the FSSA, somehow we waved the magic wand and you were over the board and everything, what would be one of the things that you would implement maybe to kind of straighten out some of this?
Well, I just analyze schools and their backgrounds and their sizes. You've been out to our games throughout the years. End of the day, we're in the same classification, same region as Madison County. So when you talk about Aucilla with 108 kids in high school in Madison County, whatever their numbers, I mean, that's just one example where it's, the measuring sticks off base. And two, we were blessed enough to win the school's second ever playoff game in school history, the first in 30 years last year. And then we had the privilege of going down and playing Port St. Joe as a reward for winning that. So I guess to answer your question, just looking at schools, their backgrounds, their sizes, town's population, demographics, things along those lines, and just try to match it up there. In Georgia, they have the public school league, and then they have the GISA, so the private school. So like actually, just to give you an example with Georgia, so we played the GISA state champion who went undefeated in the regular season. They beat us, but it was a game all the way till the fourth quarter. And so that's frustrating when you're going, hey, we competed for 4 quarters with Georgia state championship in their private school league, and they went undefeated. And we had one of our better seasons. And like I said, we won a playoff game first time in 30 years. And then you go and play somebody who's a lot better than you. So if I had to I don't know if that really answers the question or not, but just try to match schools based on, competitive advantages and who they match up well with.
Right. It definitely provides some insight. It's just it's such a large state. And I think that a lot of people don't really understand how big Florida is in terms of population. But I'm very familiar with Georgia. A lot of coaches have chimed in lately and just have looked at, whether it be coaches' pay, which is a big issue, or just their structure and how they manage their postseasons in their tournaments seems to be an outcry, if that's the right word of it, of saying, hey, we might want to rearrange or sort some of this stuff out so that we can get the best out of it. But I think that's probably the best thing is looking at, do you have a game? Is it a winnable contest where it's something where you're competing against an opponent who mirrors you? And I think that seems to be one of the biggest kind of offsets here right now in the state of Florida. So there's definitely a lot of stuff that probably could be changed, but I'm going to get to the big one, which is NIL. So I'm going to pick your brain about that. Yeah. Number one, I feel like, just number one, have you guys had discussions with your kids about it, or talks with the parents about it? And then number two, where do you see it going as far as that kind of, I hate to call it Pandora's box, but it certainly feels that way.
Right. So we haven't talked to the kids or our parents or anything about it yet. We'll sit down with our principal, and then, but two, it's so new. I think it's going to take, about a year or two or a season or so before it kind of starts unraveling. But as far as my view on it, I was against it. And to be honest with you, I was shocked that it passed unanimously with the board when they passed it. And the premise I heard was other states are doing it, so we have to do it or we'll lose kids. So I can understand to a certain degree, but unfortunately, I think it's going to ruin the game. And it may not be next year, even the following year, or the year after that. But I mean, if you look at it in 5-year increments, and we can kind of compare it to college football, now it's just a free for all. I mean, technically, NFL free agency is more regulated than what's going on at college right now. Mm-hmm. And you know how it is, it's a trickle down effect with college and high school. Whatever the fad is in college, it eventually goes down to high school. And so NIL was prevalent in college. Now it's going into high school. So I hate it. I hate it for our kids and the coaches. You made reference to it. Florida has some of the best talent in the entire nation, if not the best, as far as our high school athletes go. Mm-hmm. You got coaches they're working for pennies on the hour and then leaving for other states. Now you throw in another headache of having to keep your kids or worrying about them going off for an NIL deal. So it's just frustrating. So coaches are already stretched thin, and it's a thankless profession. And so when you're creating more headaches for the coaches, with kids just picking up and leaving and going somewhere else, it's very frustrating. I've talked to some other coaches and colleagues, and really I don't know of any other coach that's really in favor of it, at least the ones I've talked to.
I have to wonder how many kids are really going to benefit. I'm all for, hey, if there's a kid somewhere and, him and his mom, maybe single parent situation, maybe they're living in a trailer park, by all means, because some of that could change your life, or could definitely change your trajectory. But because high school is still such a teaching environment, you have to wonder if that's going to get in the way of actually learning the game. So there appears to be, kind of we want to hurry up and, be like the big boys and, not really having some infrastructure in place. Because there seems to be a lot of empty conversations or talks that haven't been had about how this is really going to roll out and how it translates.
Right. No, I'm with you on that too. I think it's just, unfortunately the Activity Association passed it and just looking around, hey, other states are doing it, so we need to as well, without really looking at the ramifications of it. But to your point too, yeah, if somebody needs it, it'd be hard to turn it down. But what I would like to see is have it regulated, if we're going to go that route there. I mean, there's pros and cons to it. But yeah, too, with these college coaches, while I was joking around with somebody, I said, hey, if they pay me $5 million a year too, I can put up with those headaches of NIL, but that's not going to obviously happen in high school. So too, it goes into, can coaches still take the same approach when they're coaching their athletes? If somebody's, on the hook or getting NIL money, it's just, hey, I don't have to listen to you. I got paid to come here more or less, or I can just go to another school and get paid more. And so players, I think, can hold that over coaches' heads to a certain degree. So like I said, it's frustrating, but is what it is.
Yeah, I also had a chance. I talked to Russell Ellington out in Gaston County, and I think that he made an excellent point of saying, we kind of know already what's about to happen. It's just, are we going to be smart enough to make sure the kids do the right things, because we're still being held accountable to a certain degree. So It'll be very interesting, to see how things unfold over the next next 2 to 3 years, as
That's
it
right.
as Coach, one last question before I let you go. Who plans the beach trips in your household?
Well, man, yeah, that'll be the lady folks. So we're down here with my brother's family and parents, and so they plan it, and I just kind of show up. But
Yeah,
one thing,
that's
get on a water diet when I get back, man. I've been hitting these restaurants up about every night, so I don't even want to get on the scale. But
I haven't planned a beach trip a day in my life.
oh man, that's the best way. Just show up and roll with it, right?